Hi there everyone, and today for S60 for myself, I actually want to now officially doing a review on a game, and you've guessed it, Burnout 3 Takedown for the PlayStation 2. So, I'm sure you've probably heard of the PlayStation 2. Maybe you grew up with it, maybe you didn't. The PlayStation 2 had very good racing games such as Need for Speed Underground and even a few experimental ones like Smuggler's Run and Midnight Club. Now here comes Burnout 3, which apparently this one was also one of the greatest PlayStation 2's titles. So it actually became one of the second most greatest PS2 games, along as unless you've also played Need for Speed Most Wanted though, because that game was also good. But what about Burnout 3? So, first, we're going to be going into history about this game, then controls, then handling, physics, graphics, and much more. First, about the history of this game. This game was made by Criterion Games and was published by EA Games in 2004. Now, if you're an EA fan, you probably know them, for Need for Speed, FIFA, and much more. But this was one of the greatest franchises EA abandoned, which unfortunately is a bit sad. Ever since Burnout Paradise came out, while a remastered one came out, it hasn't really been the same. There were no official announcements of it. Apparently, the original Burnout Paradise for the Xbox 360 servers were shut down. A bit sad, but I guess that's how it is. You can't let a game just stay up for long. So, what does Burnout 3 supposed to do on a PS2 for the most part? So, for the most part, this game was, I did technically explain, but also the consoles this game came on. Unfortunately, this game never came out on PC. It was only released for the PlayStation 2 and Xbox, the OG Xbox. And eventually, about I think like 3 years later, for the Xbox 360, eventually, which has backwards compatibility. So, what does this try to do? Well, you see, Burnout 3 is basically this was meant to be more of an arcade racer. But this isn't any of your normal arcade race. Normal arcade race is just that you just go around a track and voila, you're done. However, Burnout 3 here was a bit different. This wasn't like Gran Turismo where you have to just go around a track. This wasn't like Need for Speed becoming the ultimate worst blacklist racer. Burnout 3 wanted you to cause destruction physics, take down your rivals, crash into traffic cars, and driving on the wrong side of the road. So Burnout 3 was also kind of encouraging you what to do. And if you have a context here, I'm actually running this on an emulator on the Nether SX2 emulator. So sorry for the bad frame rate, guys. It's because actually for some reason Nether SX2's frame rate starts to drop whenever I'm recording footage. For the most part though. Also, apparently Burnout 3 was also kind of enhanced on the OG Xbox. So for me, if I could compare two side by side, sorry about that, two by side, apparently the Xbox 360 version has better reflections. The PS2 version does technically still look good at the same time. In terms of frame rate on the game, for normally both games run at 60 FPS during gameplay. And as for the menus, the PS2 version runs at the menus at 30 FPS, while the Xbox original runs its menus at 60 FPS. Not quite sure though, but this really doesn't affect the game though. Also the controls. Now, depending on what version you played of the game, this depends. If you played the PS2 version, X is to accelerate. The square button is used to do your e-brake, R1 to boost, L1 to look back, R2 to change the music, and yeah, so there's not much. And also the triangle button can be used to change the camera during gameplay. On the Xbox original, X is the e-brake. The R triggers are used to brake and accelerate, and the A button is used for impact time. On top of that, it also uses it for its boost. Now, in terms of crashing, is a bit interesting. How Burnout 3 works is basically if you crash, you can use a thing called crash after touch. How it works is you steer your wrecked car into another rival, and then that rival as well gets crashed. But these rivals just won't magically come in front of you. You actually need to steer your car to them because they'll try to dodge you. Also, the aggression of the AI was quite advanced for the time. These AI were quite, well, most of the time aggressive to you. Burnout 3 was also running on the Renderware engine, which at the time became very popular because most game developers were using Rockstar. They were using it for GTA San Andreas. And Burnout 3 is no exception because this was pretty much running on Renderware. So yeah, for the most part, and almost a lot of the Burnout games have technically been running on renderware since the first Burnout game. Criterion decided to do this. They wanted the game to look more crispier this time, taking most of the enhancements from Burnout 1 and Burnout 2 and trying to make it way better than before. The main reason why this game was published by EA was because EA bought Criterion. You see, Criterion was struggling because Acclaim, the company who published the first two Burnout games, were going bankrupt. So, fortunately, Criterion had very hard time selling their games until EA stepped in, where they decided to buy Burnout for 1 billion US dollars. Or a million, not quite sure though. However, their relationship didn't go off so well. Well, one wanted to make the other game, and EA wanted them to make a game. Until they eventually decided to finally show that they would now finally make Burnout 3 Takedown. The game was showcased back in somewhere around probably April of 2004. The game probably started its development in December of 2003, and also the game had 15 months to development. So Criterion only got 15 months to develop the game, which most games would take about a year or two to actually go through, but Criterion only took 15 months, which isn't bad though, since this game actually does look really good for a PS2 game. I'm also very impressed of Criterion that they try to push the limits of the PS2 and the Xbox. You know, the Xbox is just an Xbox, of course, but the PS2 was quite impressive. Also, this apparently what I've been hearing is this is one of the second best racing games compared to Gran Turismo 4. This one wasn't just you going on a circuit and driving a car, this was you basically picking a car and crashing it. The cars in this games are sadly unlicensed because at the time not a lot of companies want their own cars, they look so bad. So what Criterion did was they actually do mix of cars. What they do basically is they take two real life cars and mix it up. Basically a made up fictional car. So yeah, the Burnout 3 years very impressive. Now also apparently now are the ratings of this game. IGN gave this game a 93 out of 100, which I will actually agree maybe. This game here was absolutely great. So next is also, I think this game personally deserves a remaster. I really think Criterion should bring back this game. And yeah, for the most part, I do actually see YouTube videos of people running this on PCSX2 MU and actually start enhancing the graphics with HD texture packs and much more. So for the most part, let's see. It's mostly the graphics, yeah, I'm really impressed. In terms of the graphics, they look really good. The physics of the cars aren't bad. They aren't bad actually. I really like them. The handling are great. Now it's also now finally the time on would I rate this game, or for me personally, I'd give it a, well, for the most part, IGN gave it 93 out of 100. I'd give this 100 out of 100, or probably even 94 or 96 out of 100, since this is one of the great games. The game also has 44, like, or is it 33, 34? I don't know, but it has like 34 licensed soundtracks in the game, and one of the and a lot of them hit hard for me. Yellow Card Breathing, Amber Pacific, or is it Amber Pacific, Always You, and let's see, and the F Ups Lazy Generation and Sugar Cult Memory. Those are one of my favorite songs in this game. And also Jimmy Eats World Just Tonight. So yeah, I really think Burnout 3 is one of the greatest games that Criterion should really bring back. It's one of those games that just gives you the feeling of aggression and illegal street racing. Well, it's not really illegal since it's, is an arcade game. So for the most part, it's great. There's also Burnout Legends, which if you do guys remember, I did do a review back then, which the PSP version basically looks almost similar to this game because Burnout Legends came out the same time as this game. So yeah, guys, it's all I can say for Burnout 3. It's one of the greatest racing games ever made by Criterion on the PlayStation 2. Would I recommend this game? If you really love PlayStation 2 games, I would absolutely recommend this game. And if you just want to get good racing games, this is one of the best racing games I would recommend for you. So yeah, that is a bit about it about Burnout 3. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe for more reviews like this. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.